So, PT, I want to talk about boundaries and the importance of setting them with your kids. I know for my wife and I, especially in this age of electronics and just all the different media access points that kids have, boundaries are such a huge thing. What type of principles and advice could you give to parents about boundaries?
I can tell you everything you need to know about boundaries in about 3 minutes.
I'm in.
No, I can't. But I could just maybe address one piece of that.
Yeah.
And that is our sort of mindset has been to that the best defense is a good offense. Elaine went to a private Christian school. I grew up public school system, public high school.
Yeah.
So there's this tension about isolating ourselves from the evil world
Yeah.
or infiltrating the evil world with the gospel, with the presence of Christ,
Yeah.
incarnation. So we've tried to raise our children to be infiltrators rather than isolators.
Yeah.
And that means that you arm them to go out every day
Yep.
into the world, not afraid of the world, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world, but to go out and penetrate and bring salt and light into the world. So what that's looked like, one funny one, and wouldn't do this now, who do you let your kids play with? What other houses would you let them into? Right? So Nathan's friends had pogs, and apparently the conservative evangelical Christians at the time
Yeah.
were convinced that the pogs had demons in
Oh
them.
yeah, I remember those days.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Nathan would go out and play with kids in their home with their evil demon pogs, and we would have to cast the demons out of him when he got back home. And clearly I'm being sarcastic here a bit. So in early it was like, when you went to their home, how was it? What did you see? What was that experience like? A debrief, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
we send them on the mission. And so after every missions trip, there's a debrief, right?
Yep.
Come home from school, come home from a friend's house.
Yeah.
And then go, now did you influence them for Jesus? Or did they influence you away from Christ?
Yeah.
How did that go? Because that our job is to, share the good news of Jesus with us. So how did that go? So, pogs are when they're little, and then when Nathan's in rowing at the high school, and they're having a party out in the woods. Don't worry, Dad. We have guards at the road to see if the police are coming. Well, that makes me feel
Yeah, I was gonna
comfortable.
say, I'd feel amazing.
Will there be drugs and alcohol? Yes, there'll be drugs and alcohol. Will you be doing drugs and alcohol? No, not me. And you're like, and so you're supposed to go and influence them for Jesus, right? You need to bring them salt and light. So you think you can do that? Yeah, I think I can. You sure you're going to be able to stand your ground there? Yeah, I think I can. All right then. And we're going to get Grandma and Grandpa and everyone else to pray
Yeah.
that you will influence them for Jesus. And then we're going to talk about it the next day when you come home. And go, how did that go? Because the kids have to learn what their boundaries are. And if they find themselves constantly being influenced in the wrong direction,
Yeah.
it's time to break off those friendships for now,
Yeah.
until I'm strong enough to re-enter those relationships and influence them in the right way.
Yeah.
And that's not easy. That's not rules. That's not strict. The boundaries there are more about how is that going? How'd that work out for you?
Yeah.
And how is that affecting your faith and your relationship with Jesus versus strict boundaries? It's a lot more work, but it's a lot more fun too.
Yeah.
It's a lot more exciting, and I think it engages the kids to really monitor not just what can I get away with, but what is this doing to my soul and my faith.
Yeah, I think there are two things that I hear in that I absolutely love and are kind of a call to parents. And one of them is you've got to start this process when they're wee little, right?
yeah.
With the Pogs, with the Pokemon, with the whatever the silly thing is, because
Yeah.
at that point in life, most of it's pretty silly. But it's important to start that process of dialogue and debrief and conversation, because that story of Nate, it carries over.
Totally.
And that continues on. And I think another element that I'm hearing in there that I absolutely love is you have to trust the Lord with your kids, because ultimately they're not your kids, they're God's.
Absolutely.
And that's hard, I think, for a lot of parents.
Very hard. I mean, he doesn't trust us to watch over them, and figuring all that out is extremely difficult.
Yeah.
But fortunately, we have the Holy Spirit. The kids have the Holy Spirit. I've got my life group.
Yep.
I've got my peers, my faith community to help me navigate some of these waters.
Yep.
And to pray with me in raising my kids, right?
Yeah.
And but teaching them to be on the offense is always better than trying to teach them to be defensive.
Absolutely.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out the rest of our segments on parenting over on our channel. For the full parenting seminar, click the link in the description.